Hello everyone, today I'm working on this Atlas 060. I'm not even sure if it works and I'm not 100% sure I can make it work either, but I've got a little bit of time here, so I'm going to give it a try. This is called a tank engine because instead of a tender it has water here around the boiler and it's got coal in the back here. So I would like to just test just to see how it runs now. Seems to be pretty clean. So let's give that a try. So Atlas made in Austria. That should be a little bit better than the Lifelike. Tiny engines like that are fun to show visitors because it's striking how tiny they are. I'm increasing voltage a little bit just to see if maybe it's gonna run. Maybe. Just give it a little more. Well, obviously the wheels are pretty dirty, so that's gonna be that. So it definitely needs a good cleaning, but I think I can get it to go. So let's clean it up. Removing the shell on these is pretty easy. Basically you just lift up and it's held down by just the air tanks in the front, just the two air tanks. So it's held down by the two air tanks. You can grab that slit here on either side of the cab and just pull up. And once you've got it this high, you can pull next to the tanks just to release them like that. And you're free. There's a little weight inside the cab. That's pretty cool. These are pretty lightweight. So I noticed this engine was going the opposite side of what it should. So to correct that, all you gotta do is flip the engine around, flip the motor around. I'm gonna see how hard that would be. No problem at all. These two tabs, just pull them gently. And then you can just flip the motor 180 and then it'll follow the correct polarity. I am gonna mark this side so I can find it again. I've got Sharpies and paint pens, a little bit of everything handy. There, we'll just put two dots on there. That should be the top. I'll always start that way by testing out the motor. Oh yeah, it's a real sweetie. It's on the lowest setting of my power pack. Test it both directions just to be sure. And then what I do, I will put just a little drop of oil in the bearing using the slack here to work it in. You don't want to get any oil in the commutator, but I do want to put some oil in the motor. It's a 3-pole motor, not the quality that we're used to anymore, but it's still going to be fun to revive this. They have a lot of slack. That is a lot of slack. But I guess it's supposed to run like that. So I'm gonna run it again with some power just to distribute the oil around. How they transmit power to the wheels is pretty obvious. Well, the gears are exposed to the side like this, so that makes it pretty easy. I'm going to remove the valve gears, and these two screws hold these gears, this plate down. That also seems to be metal, so that's good to help for weight. Actually, I'm going to remove the valve gear right now. So I'm going to pry with my little screwdriver. I'm going to pry really gently, and then make sure you don't lose the little pins. Once the pins are out, you have your main rod, and that I just clean it with my fingers. It's bent a tiny little bit. I'm not spending a lot of time on it, but since I have it in my hands, may as well take care of that. And we'll do the other side. Exactly the same. Nice and easy. This one also seems to be bent just a little bit. That was pretty easy. Here I had a little bit of lint on my pin, so we can get rid of that. Let's see if these two screws are going to be easy or hard. Seems pretty easy. So those two, they're very small screws, so be very careful not to lose them. But I'm glad they were easy. If you have a screw that screws into plastic, most likely you will not strip it out. But if it screws into metal, fortunately trains are kept inside, so they don't get too much oxidation. But trains that are kept outside, they could get some oxidation. So these seem to be a little bit more expensive than the lifelike. Probably they're better. So it's all gonna come in one piece. So there I have my two contact strips. That has to be cleaned meticulously. We'll put that to the side for now, just so I can see what my gears are made of. You know, sometimes the people that made these old trains were brilliant. Turns out you can just pull the little wheels out. They're all the same except the number 1 driver, or is that the number 3 driver, has a hole for the valve gear and the main rod. It's got a hole for the main rod on the number 3 driver. And then that's it. You just pull on that and your gears come out. That's a little bit dirty. I'm going to clean them with my rag. So your 3 axles come out, and then these 2 gears come out with its idler, and then this one, I'm not 100% sure how that comes out, and I don't want to pull on it too hard either. I'm not going to risk to damage it. I'll just leave it in there and I'll lubricate it while it's still there. So everything gets cleaned with my toothbrush and some dish soap, but I'm going to be spending especially a lot of attention to the wheels, because that's what picks up electricity. Also, they are quite beautiful, but I'm gonna work on this the most. And also I have the little contact strips on this, and these look quite a bit corroded. So that too, I'm going to start by cleaning them with my rag. They look corroded, well, understandably, because this thing's pretty old. But I'm gonna also clean these with my Staedtler eraser. This is what I use to clean the tracks. It's a Staedtler eraser, Staedtler plastic eraser, but I also use it if I have something stubborn on the contacts. Rather than using steel wool or sandpaper, I like to use that. That again, they may look not too perfect, but they may run well. I'll give it a chance. I'll clean it as best as I can now, see how it runs, and then maybe I'll come back and clean it some more. So I'm going to work on this a little bit more off camera. Now that everything's clear, I'm going to start putting things back together. I am going to lubricate everything now. I think that's the right time to do that. So we'll start with this little guy and we'll just keep adding parts to it. So the frame is metal, so that's really cool. So here I'll add some lubrication to this. Make sure it goes on the side there. I'm being quite a bit liberal because I want it to permeate by capillarity, get to the side of everything. And then I've got 3 little idlers. Don't overdo it, just 1 drop should be way enough. So I've got all these little idlers that go in here. Yeah, 1 drop is way enough for that. And then between every wheel there's another idler, so we'll add these. And then this one here, you need the gears to have it turn, otherwise it's all on its own. There, that feels pretty good. Then I'll add the wheels. Now these, they don't necessarily need to be timed because all the valve gear is simplified. But since I am doing the job, I would prefer to do it correctly, and then put all the counterweights at the same spot and time them properly as I go. Since I get everything in my hands, may as well. I mean, there's not too many people that will notice it, but I'm gonna notice it. There. Then we'll put the 3rd one. It's the same thing, just 1 drop is way enough. So I got everything timed up properly on this side. This won't affect how the engine runs. It's just once you know, you know. And then I will add the wheels from the other side. So that really is just a cosmetic thing. I put them a quarter turn apart. You guys and me are the only ones to know, really. I care about this stuff because I like steam engines, but it won't affect how it runs. So I'm not going to put the side rods just now. I'm gonna want to test it out, see how it runs before I do that. So I did clean my contact strips. And don't forget to add your cylinders. They just go here. With that should all fit in together and very neatly. And then I brought these in just enough tension, just so they touch the wheels. And then we'll see how it goes on the track. If I find that it needs to go a little bit further, a little bit more tension, I will change it. But as you can see, they touch the top of the flange very slightly. That's all I want. Don't forget these two little screws. They're tiny but useful. And this doesn't have to be very tight, just so they don't back out. That's all you need. Now let's have some fun with this. Let's just see what happens if remember I wanted this side up. Let's see what happens if I put the other side up. Now as you put this in, you gotta remember to have the little contact strips, have them go up and over these two plates here that contact the motor. Make sure they have enough clearance, and that will just set in place. Perfect. I'm going to put just another drop here, just for safe measure. And we're going to put the weight. You kind of need it for the engine to run. So let's go see how that runs, if it's going to be going backwards. Because the axles are plastic, it's a little bit wobbly, but still it's a big improvement over where it was before. I'm going to use my SW9 to show polarity. So technically they should pull apart. And if I switch direction, they should come together. So to correct that, I have to flip the motor 180 degrees. Now they should be chasing each other. So that's the correct polarity. Now it's running the way I want. So I will add the side rods and then I'll test it again. That is my process. So I keep adding one part at a time. And when I add that part, if the engine stops or makes noise or whatever, I know that is the part that was giving me the trouble. So I used a little side rod as a tool to help me bring the pin where it should go. And you can use the motor and turn it till you got the wheels positioned where it's easy to do this. I'm not doing a super good job right now, but it can be done. And then I just hammered them in with my finger like that. It came out. So I'll finish this off camera. It's pretty tough to talk and do this at the same time. Now, since I'm happy with the way it runs, I'm gonna go on ahead and put the shell back on. When you put the shell back on, you have to be just a little bit mindful. The two air tanks, they require a bit of pressure to go into their slot, but you don't want to put too much pressure. And then that's it. Everything looks great. And now it's time to run some trains. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly had fun making it for you. See you soon. Here's a little extra bonus for you guys that stayed till the end. This is basically the same engine, but it's made by Arnold Rapido of West Germany, and it has metal axles, which means it doesn't wobble on the rails. So this is a superior engine as far as I'm concerned. To remove the body, all you gotta do is you unscrew the smokestack, which is a little bit quirky about this engine, but definitely hides the screw. So you undo the smokestack and it comes right apart. I have to hold the camera and do this at the same time, but it just comes right apart like that. So very easy to take apart. It's about the same to work on for the rest. So yeah, it runs beautifully. I much prefer the way this runs. It can crawl pretty slow. At least reasonably slow for what I expect these inexpensive engines to go. That one is the best one. Well, thanks for staying till the end. See you soon.